Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us here today for Developer Preview Live Spring 21. We are excited to have all of you joining us. My name is Heather Storm. I'm a Developer Program Manager here at Salesforce, and I'm your MC for the next hour. I'm joined by product managers and advocates who are going to tell us all we need to know about our upcoming release. Be sure to ask us your questions by tweeting us at Salesforce Devs with the hashtag SalesforceLive, and we'll get to all those questions at the end of the broadcast. We've got a lot of goodness today, and a lot of it is forward-looking statements. So please make sure you make any and all purchasing decisions based on what's currently available on the platform, and not any forward-looking statements that I or my panelists may make today. We've got lots of goodness today. We're going to start with Andrew Lawrence, who's going to give us an update on Commerce Cloud. Then we'll hand it over to Kevin, who will show us everything new with the Salesforce platform. And finally, we'll wrap things up with Philippe, who's going to show us what's been happening in developer relations for the last few months. It's exciting. But that's enough of me for now. I'll see you at the end for our Q&A. On to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Heather. Welcome, everyone, to my home office here in Salt Lake City, Utah. My name is Andrew Lawrence, and I'm a Director of Product Management for Salesforce B2C Commerce, focusing on our developer experience. Today, I'm excited to show you some of the new APIs and tools that we have available for building your headless commerce experiences. So let's dive right in. Headless Commerce, powered by Customer 360, allows developers to deliver a shopper-focused solution as they adopt a headless architecture. Brands like ASICS, Under Armour, and Adidas partner with us to deliver their headless commerce approach with three main focus areas. First, delivering modern experiences. Our soon-to-be-released PWA kits and managed runtime give you an elevated starting point to launch a modern website. Second, deploying commerce anywhere. You can make any channel shoppable by using our B2C Commerce APIs, our extensions with AppExchange, and increase your efficiency with tools from our Commerce Cloud Developer Center. And third, providing a connected customer journey, leveraging AI-powered personalization throughout the shopping journey and MuleSoft accelerators to unlock backend data from external systems. With Commerce Cloud, you get a flexible platform that unlocks choice and efficiency for every team. Developers not only get powerful APIs, but also resources and efficiency tools to empower them to be successful. We include business user tools for growth so that the digital and commerce teams can move faster and be more impactful. Leverage our trusted partners with AppExchange and integration guides that allow you to extend to new channels and add functionality with a proven ecosystem. And you can unlock critical backend data from external systems with MuleSoft accelerators. But today, let's focus on our APIs. B2C Commerce has always had APIs available, but last August we introduced our new Salesforce Commerce API. This new collection of APIs is the starting point for a new Commerce API-first platform. The APIs cover our existing shopping and backend data use cases. With a new API gateway in place, we have started introducing new multi-tenant capabilities and will continue to build out the B2C Commerce platform in an API-first model. And with trust as our number one value at Salesforce, the APIs are still backed by the most trusted commerce platform available, with the system designed to be available, to protect shopper data, and to be fully compliant with all relevant regulations. With the new set of APIs, we also needed a way to introduce them to the public, and so our new Commerce Cloud Developer Center was also created. This new site at developer.commercecloud.com is the base camp for developers looking to work with Salesforce Commerce Cloud. Here you will find developer documentation and guides, downloadable tools, solution kits for common use cases, full documentation for the APIs, links to Trailhead modules, and most importantly, a full community of developers that you can engage and ask questions. Let's jump out to the Developer Center and we can quickly look at all of the great content. From the Docs menu, we can see content not only for Headless, but also for storefront applications, Page Designer, and Einstein, and more are on their way. From the Solutions menu, we can see a full collection of solution kits that you can use to help with your use cases. And from the Community menu, we see discussion groups where developers can ask questions and collaborate together. But our focus today is on Headless and on the Commerce API, so let's have a look in there. Here you will find a guide with some great documentation to get you started with using the APIs. Then there are the APIs themselves. You will find all 19 APIs that are currently available for B2C Commerce. Let's drill in on our Shopper Products API. First, you will see a general overview of the API and its usage. We can also see the API specification, where we see all of the available endpoints. Then we can drill into the endpoint we are interested in. Selecting the endpoint shows us its details with code examples. There is also a mocking service available on the right side where we can input field information, send an example request, and see what the response back from the server will look like. We also have other resources available. Here there are tutorial links out to Trailhead. There are also developer tools available, and here is where you will find our new Node.js SDK for the APIs. The SDK is open source, and we can view full documentation on GitHub, allowing you to get up and running with the APIs even faster. In fact, using the SDK is a great way to build new commerce headless experiences. We've built a quick demo to show you how we could use the SDK to create a Google Assistant shopping experience. We've built an application deployed in Heroku, which answers the webhook call from Google Assistant and the Google Intent service. The app receives the call and leverages the SDK to perform product searches against the Commerce API. Let's have a look at how we've put this together. We start off in Google's Dialog Flow platform for voice assistants, where we have created our project. We created an intent for search items, and then set up some basic phrases to train the responses. We will set up a few search examples here to train the system. And then we can save. Now, if we scroll down, we can see that we've enabled a webhook call for the intent. And then we configure the webhook to point to a Heroku application that we've created. Let's have a look at some of the code. Our Heroku application uses GraphQL to receive the webhook, and then it talks to a backend for front-end application that we've also created. Now let's look at the backend for front-end application. We can see how it uses the Commerce SDK for search. We've only implemented search here for demonstration, but you could implement other options such as getting product details, finding if a particular color or size is available, and even placing items into a wish list. Okay, we will add a quick change to the code here. And then commit the change back to Git. And then we push to Heroku master to deploy the change. This may take just a moment. And there we go. Now back in the Google Actions console, we can do a manual test to see if the responses are as we expect. Our site is for Northern Trail outfitters, so let's find some outdoor gear. We can start with searching for alpine pullovers. Or maybe we need a new sleeping bag. Great, it seems to be working. That was easy. Now we can try it with our voice in the Google Voice Assistant. First, we ask the assistant to load our voice commerce demo, and then we're off and running. Talk to the Salesforce Commerce Cloud Voice Search Demo.
Okay, let's get Salesforce Commerce Cloud Voice Search Demo.
Welcome to Commerce Cloud Voice Search. Try find 10 white t-shirts to find great products.
Search for alpine pullovers.
There are 5 results. 1. Women's Glacier Alpine Pullover costs $65 United States dollars.
Search for sleeping bags.
There are 5 results. 1. Hyper Kazoo costs $359 United States dollars.
Next product.
2. Green Kazoo costs $339 United States dollars.
And when I select the product, I am able to view it directly on the website. And just like that, we have created a new commerce experience using the Commerce SDK. The new APIs and SDK are really just the start of our headless adventure for commerce. We are continuing to invest in and expand the options available for building headless experiences on Commerce Cloud. In this spring release, we have introduced a new omnichannel inventory microservice that provides a single source of truth and accurate view into location-level inventory across all fulfillment channels. We have also introduced new MuleSoft data and Shopper API connectors for B2C commerce, which serve as pre-built, certified connectors to simplify development and ensure best practices around authorization, security, and performance. In our roadmap are new API microservices for shopper authentication and for product search and discovery. In addition, our recent acquisition of Mobify will give us a new platform for building your headless storefronts with a new progressive web app kit and a managed runtime to make operating a headless storefront in the public cloud even easier. I am really excited about all the possibilities the future holds for developers on the B2C commerce platform. And with that, I'll pass it over to Kevin to see what's new for the Salesforce platform.
Thanks, Andrew. That was really cool. Good day, everyone else. I'm Kevin Poorman, and welcome to my basement. I love concise methods, high unit test coverage, and long hikes in the mountains. Today, I get to take you on a harbor tour of what developers can look forward to in the Spring 21 release. Let's dive in. Let's start with one of my favorite new features, the Fields Sockle method. Now, I've often heard developers wish that there was some way to say select star in Sockle, the same way that you can do select star in SQL. Well, in Spring 21, we have something similar in that we have the fields method, which allows you to request predefined groups of fields rather than enumerating through all of them. Now, the platform specifically creates 3 groups of fields. You have all, which is literally all the fields on the record, standard, which is for the standard fields on the record, and custom, which is all the custom fields that you've created and put on the record. Now, there's one crucial limit that I want to draw your attention to, and that is when you're using the fields method, you have to limit your transaction to no more, your query to no more than 200 records. So this is such a cool feature. I want to do a quick demo of it. Let's take a quick look. Okay, I've got an empty file here named demofields.sockle, and I've opened it in Visual Studio Code. And here I'm just going to type out a basic query that uses the fields method. So select fields all from account, and I'm going to execute that query. And we're going to get an error back down here that says you have to limit it to no more than 200 records. Now, we have to add that limit. We can do up to 200. I'm going to do 10 because this is going to throw back a lot of data. All those fields on the account object are going to be coming back. So let's try that again, but this time with the limit. Now you can see all those fields there. Now let's try that again, but this time we're going to change it from all to custom. And here's 10 records when I run it. Each of them has no value for that custom field. So we end up with a nice concise table. That's why I chose this. So you can see that we've got null values for the one custom field that I've created on account in this org. And that's it. This is super simple, but super powerful. And you can start using the fields method in Sockle statements and Sockle queries as soon as Spring 21 drops. All right, next up, source tracking in Sandboxes. This GA feature means that you can start to use the CLI's push and pull commands with your sandboxes. Additionally, you can use force source status with a username to compare your current directory's metadata against a sandbox. So this makes working with your sandboxes and your Scratch orgs even simpler because you can be right there in a Scratch org and then say force source status, compare to a sandbox, and see where your metadata differs. Now, I'm really excited about that. But one of the things that I'm really super excited about, this is really cool in my opinion, is the custom settings and static assessors. Now, we've had the custom settings static assessors for a while, but now with Spring 21, we have them for custom metadata types. Yay! Now, when you using custom settings, you just say custom setting __c.getAll. You get back your list of records, and everything is hunky-dory. It makes it super simple to use those custom settings. Now, with custom metadata, you can turn around and do the exact same thing. You just say custom metadata name __MDT.getAll, and you'll get a list of those metadata records back without a single Sockle query. Brilliant. All right, next up. Invocable method annotation improvements. In Spring 21, we've added the ability for developers to let the platform know which invocable methods are making callouts. Now, this is important because if a method makes a callout, it may need to run in a separate transaction than the flow that triggered it. By adding callout equals true to your invocable method annotation, you're telling the platform, hey, this method makes a callout. It might be better if you run this in a separate transaction than the rest of the flow is running in. Now, keep in mind, if you omit that tag, the system is going to turn around and invoke that in the current transaction as the flow is running. Now, we've done all these GA features so far. Let's get into a pilot feature. Starting in Spring 21, there's a pilot that lets you build quick actions with Lightning Web Components. Yay! I'm really super excited about this because it's one less reason to write Aura code. When I first started using Lightning Web Components, I'm head over heels in love with them, and I was just like, I don't want to write Aura anymore. This is so much more fun. And this is one less reason to write Aura code. We're going to have the ability to create not only the Lightning Web Components and use them in your quick actions, but, and I missed this the first time I read through the release notes, you can create headless LWC quick actions. So imagine the automation you can trigger just by having a button press and firing those off. I'm looking forward to being able to do some cool things with those. Now, I've got a few more things I want to pass on that I want to draw your attention to, but they're not as big a deal, not as big a spiel, or you've heard about them before. So let's dive into the sort of potpourri segment of the event. And I want to hit on just these few things. One, transaction finalizers are in beta. Now, you've heard a lot about transaction finalizers before. You know that I'm a huge fan of them because they enable you to attach work to the completion or the error state of a queuable. And because of that, we have all the building blocks to build a really elegant promise system in Apex. And I love promises. Now, they've been in open beta. Now they're in beta. You can start to use them just about everywhere. Now, the next thing down is when you call the convert lead method, you can actually now specify whether or not you want the person account ID and or the business account ID. So if you are working with person accounts, you can convert that lead straight to a person account or attach it to a person account. And the same thing with the business account. Likewise, if you're dealing with older bits of code and you want to work with 15-character IDs, we now have a method that'll really help you out with that. On any ID object, you can call .to_15, and it will give you back, as you might imagine, the 15-character version of that ID. So instead of calling string, cut it up and give me the first 15, just call string.to_15. You get the 15-character version of that ID. Unlocked org dependent packages are now GA, everyone. So take some time, break up your org into multiple packages, just like a boss, sit down, figure it out, and then you'll be able to more rapidly deploy code, and it'll be a lot easier to work with your org, especially older, bigger orgs. We also have a new addition to the string.format method, which allows you to use the single quote inside of a format string. So if you've been wanting to use string.format and you've run into something where you wanted to do like an apostrophe or something like that, you can now use single quotes in the string.format string. It's a little meta there. And finally, but not last, every class that has the annotation Aura enabled will now default to with sharing unless you specify otherwise. So as you think back to your coding, you've got public class, public with sharing class, and public without sharing class, and public inherited sharing class. Those are the four ways of specifying a class. And what I want you to hear from this is if you don't have any with sharing, without sharing, or inherited sharing, if it just says public class, but you've tagged it at Aura enabled, the system will now treat that class as if you said with sharing. Okay, so if you don't want with sharing, and really who doesn't want with sharing, then you're going to have to manually put that in there. And with that, I want to hand you over to Philippe with fun updates from our team.
Thanks, Kevin. That was really amazing. Now it's my time to talk about the updates from the developer relations team. My name is Philippe Ozil. I'm a developer advocate, and I'm based in France, in the French Alps. And I'm going to walk you through what our team has been doing in the last couple of months. The developer advocacy team has been active on a number of fronts, and I have the privilege to give you the highlights of what we've been working on recently. I'll tell you about a new Visual Studio Code theme that we've developed, significant updates that we made to the Salesforce APIs collection, and also I'll share how you can upgrade that sample apps to the latest version and the trove of new developer content we've made available on our YouTube channel. Let's start with the Visual Studio Code theme. If you're using Visual Studio Code, we have some great news for you. Kevin's been working on a brand new theme called Cody's Embed by 10. Did you just hear, oh yeah, great, another Visual Studio Code theme? Well, this one has a few extra things compared to the others, and let me show you what. I'll start by installing the theme from the Visual Studio Code extension tab. I'm looking for Cody. The one we want to install today is Cody's Embed by 10. Now that our theme is installed, let's take a look at some code and enable it to see the difference. For the record, I am using the default VS Code theme right now, which is dark. You can change the theme directly in the extension tab, but I just closed, but I'll use a command to do that so that you can see the difference applied on the code. I'll use the Command-Shift-P shortcut on a Mac or Windows-Shift-P on a Windows machine to bring up the command palette, and I'll change the theme from there. As you can see, this theme is designed with accessibility in mind. There's a better contrast ratio in the default theme. It's a dark mode, but it's not too dark as well. The theme looks great, and it has great color with a special custom font dear to Kevin's heart. There's also a little special thing that makes this theme uniquely great for Salesforce developers compared to the other themes. It contains color syntax highlighting that's specific to Apex. For example, you can see here how the Apex doc tags and how the Sockle queries are highlighted with special colors. You won't get any of that in the other themes because they simply don't leverage the Apex language definition. Alright, now let's talk about something else. Let's talk about Postman. In March, we've announced the Salesforce APIs collection for Postman. Postman is an application that lets you configure and call HTTP-based APIs like REST or SOAP, and the Salesforce APIs collection is a resource that wraps together close to 250 request templates for tens of Salesforce APIs. So for example, the REST API, bulk API, tooling, metadata, you name it. The Salesforce APIs collection has evolved significantly since we released it, and I'll quickly share a couple of major enhancements that we made to it. First of all, we're now on the Postman API network. That's their marketplace. Think of it like the App Exchange, but for Postman. This means that installing the collection is now very easy. I'm now in Postman app, and I'm going to show you how you can install the collection with just a few clicks. I'm going to click on New. I'll switch to the API Network tab. From there, I'm going to search for Salesforce. I select Salesforce Developers from the results, and I click Run in Postman next to the Salesforce APIs collection. That's it. That's all there is. This installs the collection in the app, and at this point, I only have to configure the collection for my org, and I can execute Salesforce queries. I can call the different APIs. Talking about APIs, we've added 2 new APIs to the collection, thanks to some great contributions. You now have access to the Chatter API with the Connect REST API, and you can post messages, manage groups, and much more. And we've also added the CPQ API. You can now manage configuration, contracts, and quotes with the collection. Finally, we're leveraging an exciting new feature from Postman, which is called Public Workspaces. And this allows us to keep the collection open source and continue to benefit from community contributions. With that, you'll be able to work with familiar collaboration concepts, just like if you are using Git. You'll be able to fork, create pull requests, merge, and pull. This is great news for you even if you don't contribute to the collection, because you'll also be able to pull changes from the collection. So each time we create a new API, each time we fix a bug, you'll be able to import all of that without having to reinstall anything. Right, next, I'm going to talk about the sample apps. Just like for each release, we've upgraded all of our sample apps to the latest version, Spring 21. And if you don't know about the sample apps, make sure to check out the Trailhead sample gallery to take a look at our 8 apps. You'll find apps that are tied to business use cases, as well as so-called recipe apps that contains collection of sample code dedicated to specific technologies like Apex, Lightning Web Components, and Visualforce. All of these apps are open source, and you can find their source code directly on GitHub. On top of this, we now have created Trailhead projects for almost all of these apps, and these small projects are a great way to familiarize yourself with them. You'll find setup instructions and links to the Trailhead projects on each of the repository readmes. Last but not least, let me talk about our video content updates. And as you may have noticed, We recently started producing more and more video content in the last couple of months. This means that our Salesforce developers YouTube channel got a ton of exciting new content. First, thanks to a great response we had from the community, we've continuously expanded our developer quick takes library, and we got around 30 episodes now there. Quick takes are short introduction videos of about 5 to 10 minutes that explain a specific developer topic. You can watch them from our developer quick takes playlist, and you'll find a variety of topics ranging from Lightning Web Components, Apex, flows, and other developer tooling, and much more. In related news, the popular Selfless developer podcast turned a year old last November, and in order to celebrate that, we've added all of these 70 episodes to a dedicated playlist. That's one more way to listen to them. Now, you can head over there and tune in to hear short and insightful stories of developers from developers, and you can listen to our colleague Josh Burke as he hosts developer trailblazers from around the world as they share their stories of learning, building, and integrating with the Salesforce platform. In addition to the podcast, we've also added all of our Trailhead Lab developer episodes on YouTube. You'll find plenty of great content such as our Modern App Development on Salesforce series, arranged in playlists. This series presents how to design and build apps on Salesforce and Heroku. There's also the great Code Life series hosted by Kevin that teaches about Apex development with best practices and tips. With this, you can now enjoy your favorite content on the Salesforce Developers YouTube channel. Like what you see, and if you have ideas also for new topics, make sure to let us know, and feel free to subscribe to our channel to get notified when we release new content. And that's it for Developers Relations Update. Here are some links to the resource that I've just covered. You'll find the Visual Studio Code theme, Code is in bed by 10, the Salesforce APIs collection for Postman, the sample app gallery, and our YouTube Salesforce Developers channel. All right, that's a wrap. Now let's go ahead with the Q&A. I'll pass it back to you, Heather.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Q&A portion of this broadcast. We're so excited for you to be joining us, and we're already seeing some great questions coming in. If you'd like to get your questions answered, please make sure you tweet us at Salesforce Devs with the hashtag Salesforce Live. I've got some great moderators already compiling all of your questions for us, and we're terribly excited to get started. Now, Kevin had to step away, but don't fear, we have another expert on the call with us. So Mo, would you like to introduce yourself briefly?
Hey, thank you, Heather. Hey, everyone. My name is Mohit. I'm a developer advocate here at Salesforce, and I'm part of the developer relations. So excited to be here, Heather.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. And as a reminder, we still have Philippe and Andrew with us as well. So let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, so the first question that came in earlier, let's just tackle it. So will the new get all methods with the new get all methods on the command line? What happens with parent-child configurations? If I do a request on all CMD objects, do I somehow get all of the parent and child records?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So I think CMD here is custom metadata type. So there's a new method called get all. So I've been playing with this method. Currently only parent records I've seen. Again, this feature is still not rolled out completely. So I would like to do some more experimentation, like doing a JSON.serialize, etc. So at this point, I'm not completely 100% sure that whether it's gonna give child records as well. But this is something that I'll explore and let you know, Peter. I'll reach out to you on Twitter as well.
Awesome, thanks, Mo. Okay, so Philippe, you showed us some really cool stuff around Postman, and people are wondering, does this mean that Salesforce is shutting down Workbench?
Great question. Thanks for asking. So yeah, there's been rumors, and you may have seen also the little red banner in Workbench advising you to go to Postman. And the reality is that there's no official announcement yet that Workbench, is going to be taken offline. But bear in mind that we clearly know that it's not the future of developer tooling. This technology is a bit legacy now, and we need to envision a second generation of tools. And we really think that Postman is the answer, at least for the REST Explorer part. And probably also there's going to be another part which will be replaced by Code Builder when it's finally live.
Yep, that sounds great. Well, and I think it's pretty easy to get started with the Postman API collection. You just saw Philippe get us started. So I think it's a really great way to start exploring those REST APIs. All right, I have a question for the amazing Andrew Lawrence. Does Commerce Cloud developer site have resources that are applicable to B2B?
It doesn't have B2B resources currently, although that is something that will be coming in the next few months. So we do want to get B2B resources out there so that you can see and find documentation for B2B. And we'll start to add some other documentation for other areas, such as our order management product and some of those things as well. So it will continue to expand over the coming months.
Perfect. Well, and you have tons of content for B2C commerce. So what's the best way to get started with B2C?
Well, that's a great question. So the content that's out there, definitely start at developer.commercecloud.com. That'll give you a bunch of details about the APIs. There are guide documents there that will point you to other documentation. Admittedly, at the moment, there's documentation in a number of different places, but that developer center kind of gives you a starting point to branch off to it. And then with the APIs themselves, there's a mocking service that's there. You can see the responses that are coming from it. And that's really kind of the best way to get up and at least start exploring the APIs and what they can do.
Awesome. I love this focus on APIs today. There's so much goodness in this release around that. So thank you both. Okay. I have another custom metadata question. This one's for you, Mo. So
sure.
New methods to get custom metadata records. Do these count against SOQL limits?
So that's a good news. Actually, it doesn't count against your SOQL limits. So it's pretty much like your custom setting methods, and it's cached and it's faster. So definitely try it out. And if you have a query, this is a good opportunity for you to actually swap them up with this new utility method getAll.
Awesome. Okay, follow-up question from our question earlier. Does get instance mean we might be getting a hierarchical command in the future?
I'm not sure about that actually, and we can take this question to the product team, whether there will be an hierarchical type of customs, custom metadata, just like hierarchical custom settings.
Totally. So we should follow up and get an answer back and let you know, because that's a forward-looking statement we don't know the answer to yet. All right, let's go back up. I'm scrolling around, trying to keep track of all of your amazing questions. They keep coming in. Thank you for that. All right, with sharing by default, is that going to be a version change, or will it be retro applied to all classes? And this is in Apex. Philippe or Mo, do you know? I'm seeing some shaking of heads. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna follow up with Chris Peterson on that.
Yep,
so I will tag him on that tweet, and we'll follow up and get you an answer directly from the PM.
Yep.
All right, let's go scroll back up here. Andrew, I've been seeing a lot of noise around Mobify. We're seeing some people commenting on it. Can you give us some insight into what the Mobify acquisition is going to bring to B2C commerce?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Mobify as a company, they built what's commonly referred to as like a front end as a service piece for building commerce storefronts on top of various commerce platform APIs. So the idea being that you want to build a fast, flexible storefront, you build it within Mobify and talk to your commerce system via APIs. So with the Mobify acquisition, we get two things that will be coming out of that. So one is what we're calling the PWA kit. So that's essentially a progressive web app template that's already built that will be connected to the commerce APIs that you can basically use as a starting point for building your headless storefront that you're trying to build on top of B2C commerce. And then the other thing you get is a managed runtime that will be a piece of that. So that's a public cloud infrastructure layer that will be in place for you to run that PWA kit in, that Salesforce will manage and run it for you. So oftentimes when you're doing headless, you have to worry about things like the CDNs and security and those type of things around building out your storefront. We'll have this managed runtime in front of it and manage that for you. And the best news from all of this is that if you already are licensing B2C commerce, you get these new things for free when they're made available. So they're not an additional license or anything. They're part of the existing B2C commerce license.
That's amazing. Awesome. Cool. It sounds like Mobify is going to bring a lot of fun to continuing to develop.
Fun. That's a good way to put it. It will bring a lot of fun. Yes.
Awesome. Okay, next question. We are seeing some great questions around not only the Postman Collective, but also, Philippe, when will the Postman API network be available?
So it's a good question, and I think there's a bit of a misunderstanding. The API network is already available now. What happened just like this week, I think it was yesterday, Postman just released a new version of the desktop application. So the collection and the network are located in different part of the user interface. So if you've seen, like, for example, the installation instructions for the Salesforce APIs collection, it needs to be updated to work with this new version 8 of Postman, but it's still there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any ETA on when we can see that update come to the repository?
Next week. Yeah, I'll work on it. I'm the one responsible for it, so I need to revisit the documentation and make it available next week. This caught us by surprise a bit. We didn't see it coming.
Fair enough. Community-based roadmaps. Awesome. Okay, this is a question that I think either Mo or Philippe could tackle. Which video content should a Salesforce admin start with watching if they're interested in transitioning to becoming a developer? And where might they find that content?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I would say definitely Trailhead Live and also our YouTube channel. Trailhead Live has a lot of content like this. There has been official Trailhead team, the credentialing team. They put a lot of resources there around development. In fact, they teach you how to sort of code from beginning. So I think that's a great place to find. Also on our YouTube channel, you'll find a lot more content, from this year, from past year, which has intro level content. And Safe Harbor, Heather, we are also working on a beginner mind series, which is going to really focus on, basics. So I think some of those content can be good for Salesforce admins as well, trying to be Salesforce developers.
Yeah, and that Beginner's Mind series, that's going to come out in 30-minute chunks on our YouTube channel. So be tuned in there.
And a piece of advice I would add to that is maybe if you're an admin transitioning to being a developer, try to focus first on a technology. Like, don't try to cover both Apex, Lightning Web Components all at the same time. Maybe start small with maybe just Apex or just Lightning Web Components, and then you can ramp up a bit more. Because these are a lot of different languages, so that's a lot to deal with when you're starting.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Andrew, people are wondering, what did the holiday season look like for B2C commerce and the APIs?
Yeah, I mean, the APIs, so as you can imagine, even with COVID, a lot of things have changed with the way that we do commerce. There has been a lot of movement from developers wanting to build new experiences on top of B2C commerce to do things like curbside pickup, to do a lot of things related to omni-channel situations and fulfilling items from stores and all of those type of things. Through the summer, we were actually seeing API counts up in the range that we had been seeing in 2019 holiday. So it was kind of amazing as we went through there. And from this last holiday season, during Cyber Week, we saw just over 1 billion requests come through to the APIs for Commerce Cloud. So there was a lot of volume. That's about a 50% increase from what we saw the previous year. I'm proud to say that the system held up pretty good. We went through it just fine, but it's really kind of a testament to how APIs are being more and more adopted to build, for developers to build out the new experiences that they need to, especially in these times as quickly as they are changing for retail and commerce in general.
1 billion requests is a lot. That's amazing.
It is a lot, yes.
I guess after you said that, I was just kind of in shock. That's awesome. And it's great to hear that we withstood that and we could just keep going. That's amazing. Okay, next question. Headless Lightning Web Components, how are these different than JavaScript buttons in Classic? Philippe, you want to take that? Maybe?
So headless as in Headless Commerce Cloud, or?
It says Headless Lightning Web Components, and how are these different than JavaScript buttons in Classic? So maybe this is more for Mo?
Yeah. Again, I'm assuming here. So headless LWC by headless LWC, I think they are pointing out to that new functionality where you can use LWC as as in your overrides, as your overrides for new buttons, etc. So there is a headless thing there. There are two versions of it. One is obviously you have a UI, and the other version is in headless, where you can indicate that the LWC component is headless so that it doesn't present you the default UI. So again, this feature is all in pilot. It's you have to contact your account executive to get into this program and explore. Basically, it's like you can override a button, which will not have an UI. So headless means it doesn't have an UI. So it's just a button, and it is an LWC still, and there is a JavaScript controller sitting behind it, and you can execute the actions within that controller.
Yeah, and I think the best way that this is actually different from JavaScript buttons is that it's going to be a lot more protected and really written with your security in mind.
Yes.
JavaScript buttons are kind of a hack. And that's why we've been working so hard to provide you with other alternatives to still accomplish those things that you've accomplished with JavaScript buttons for so long, but also to have them work in the Lightning UI. So definitely recommend you check that out. It's pretty cool. And I think if you can get into that pilot, it'll be well worth your while. Okay. So Andrew, do you know, are there any videos planned for how to use the B2B Lightning experience?
That is a good question, but actually I probably don't know. So we'll probably need to get with the B2B product management team, and we can find that out and get that information back to those who are asked. I've seen that question come in a couple of times now. So
yeah, okay. We'll get on that. All right, perfect. So let's see here. Oh, Philippe, I've just seen this question come in. We saw a really cool new way to preview our code in Visual Studio Code using a brand new theme. Can you remind us what that theme is called and how we can get it?
Yeah, it's Kevin's work. It's a shame he's not here to talk to us about it, but the name of the theme is Cody's in Bed by 10. And you can grab it from the Visual Studio Code marketplace. So you just search for Cody and you'll start to find a few results, and that should be good enough to find it. It's published by Salesforce, by the way, now. So you can find it easily.
Oh yeah, update since just a few moments ago.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So let's see here. Andrew, online commerce has become a necessity since COVID started for many companies. What are you seeing from developers and what are they building? Can you give us some inspiration?
Yeah, like we mentioned in previous question a little bit, it's really been with COVID, it has been about how quickly can developers adopt their front end experiences to get to where their consumers are now, especially for retailers who have stores. But even for those who don't, they're doing new types of ways to implement commerce in terms of getting more involved with like social media sites to sell things on social media sites, getting involved with other places where they can expose their content to other mechanisms for bringing in revenue, essentially. So what we've seen a lot is customers adopting and starting to use the APIs and being much more agile about how they build their experiences. The move to headless is actually starting to get a lot more driven because of that, because it makes it more flexible so that you can build the experiences that you want, and the experience itself is under your control to put out there and release as needed. So yeah, we've seen a lot of adoption, a lot of questions coming in on how to build headlessly, on how to build omni-channel situations, and how to build things related to actually inventory management. And our inventory management API that's coming up in the next month plays another big piece of that.
Oh, forward-looking statement there. That's exciting.
Yes, it is a forward-looking statement, but it's pretty solid at this point. The new omni-channel inventory management service will be here, yes.
Awesome. Sweet. I feel like we're going to have you back next release to talk about that.
Maybe so.
All right. So Mo, I've got a question for you. Sure. As a managed package developer, I've had a hard time monitoring batch Apex errors in my subscriber org as the logs can be obstructed. Is there a feature to capture those batch Apex errors?
Yes, definitely. So now you can implement database.raise platform events in your batch. So that's a new interface that was added. So with that, what happens is, there is a platform event that automatically gets fired by Salesforce when there is an unhandled error. And you can write a trigger on batch apex error event object. Now that's again a new object. And you can write and capture all these errors and put them in your custom objects. So really cool feature for ISV clients here, building managed package apps. And this is something that can be packageable now with Spring 21. We had this feature before, but it was not packageable. So now it's packageable, GA, and really a good feature for all of the managed packages that use tons of batch epics, to capture and monitor the errors.
Cool. And along the lines of packaging, but slightly different, can you tell us a little bit about unlocked packaging and how that's different from managed packages?
Yes, definitely. So unlock packages are designed for everyone, meaning, whether you are a system integrator, whether you have an enterprise Salesforce org, the code is sort of not obstructed, or, it's not hidden. While managed packages are specifically for ISVs, where the code is your IP and we protect them. So unlock packages are, we give all the benefits that was previously possible in managed package now with unlock packages. So with packaging technology, you can break and organize your metadata into smaller modules. So that makes your development cycle more agile. So you can, break into easily consumable modules and you can easily deploy them, having more control over your metadata and your application. So
Awesome.
bring the same technology of managed package to our customers as well.
And of those options, which ones are org dependent and which ones are not?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So we had, earlier we had only like org, sort of independent, meaning, all your metadata compilation happens during the package version creation. But, we know that there are customers who have tons of metadata and it's a daunting project in itself to break them into modules. So we have released what we call it as org dependent unlock packages. So with this feature, what you can do is your dependency verification does not happen during the package creation. Instead, it happens during the package installation. That means, you need not break your metadata. You can take your own time to break them up. Meanwhile, you can still use, the packaging technology. And we have also another feature, source tracking. So with Sandbox Source Tracking and with org, dependent packages, you can really take all the benefits of, using all these packaging technologies, without sort of having to break your metadata into multiple modules.
Okay, we're just gonna go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, Philip was like happy soup. Like, you don't have to break your happy soup. You can take your own time, essentially.
All right, so we're just going to continue to eat the airtime on this one because I have one more follow-up question because you mentioned Sandbox Source Tracking. Which sandbox types actually support that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. For now, we support developer and developer pro sandboxes. Safe Harbor, the team is actually working on supporting it for partial and full copy sandboxes as well. So this is definitely one of the most exciting features actually for me personally, because with sandboxes you can quickly replicate the configurations that you have in your production, and with source tracking enablement, you don't have to manually track all your metadata and all your conflicts especially when you're collaborating with other developers. You can easily use the commands like force source pull and push that we are all familiar using in Scratch arcs. Now I can use that in my Scratch arcs as well.
Awesome. All right, so I just wanted to give a shout out. The questions are starting to slow down, but we're still here. So make sure if you've got more questions for us, you're using the hashtag Salesforce Live and tweeting us at Salesforce Devs so that we can make sure we're answering all of your questions today. All right, I do have a few more though, so let's dive in. Hey, Andrew, if I don't have B2C commerce right now, what's the best way for me to try it out?
Good question. So unfortunately, right, B2C Commerce is on a separate tech stack from the Salesforce core. So right now, the primary way that you get access to B2C Commerce is you license it. But with the Developer Center, you can at least see the mocking services for what's there for the APIs, so you can see what they will do. But I'll also mention that we are working to have a trial sandbox program that will be up and running here in actually a few weeks. So you can get with your Salesforce AEs or SEs or CSMs and talk with them about if you want to get a hold of a trial sandbox for BC Commerce and try out the APIs directly. So that's coming very soon.
Okay, awesome. I can't wait. I'm really excited to try this stuff out. Okay, Philippe, I've got 2 questions about fields for you. So the first is the Sockle fields function and expression also supported in the bulk API?
Oh, that's a good question. So remember that there are 2 versions of the bulk APIs, and this is supported in the second version of the bulk APIs. And when you talk about the fields expression, there are also 3 parameters that you can pass to the field parameter, to the function, sorry. There is the all, standard, and custom. And the one that we support in the bulk APIs is the standard only. You cannot have the all or the custom value. So
okay.
Yeah, for bulk API version 2 with standard fields.
So it'll only pull back the standard fields, not my custom fields or all of my fields.
Yep.
Cool. All right. And then since this is a Sockle functionality, can you run fields all from within Apex? And if yes, how do you then in your Apex code later reference those fields?
Good question as well. So this is a different context from the bulk API, and the response to this question is actually no. You can only use a standard as well in this context. And to reference those fields, you would just access them from the object, just like if you were fetching them with directly by using their name in the query.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, next question. Are the unhandled exception platform events for managed packages available for non-managed code?
Yeah, that is, that's obvious. We already had this in the previous releases itself. This release was specifically for managed packages. So yeah, it will work both for, managed packages or, whether you are, it's an unmanaged or unlocked package. So definitely it'll work.
Okay. And what was the error event trigger for batches? They can't seem to find any documentation on this. I'm not sure if we'll be able to have an answer here.
Yeah, so it's available. The documentation for this is available in the Spring 21 release notes. So the event, is batch apex error event. That's the name of the event, and the object is also called batch apex error event object. And there is a sample code also in the Apex developer guide in the new version. So.
Okay, perfect. Next question. We've got more questions on Sockle fields all. I think people are pretty excited that we get this functionality. Are we planning to allow a retrieve of more than 200 records with Sockle fields all? Do we know?
I think this is not going to change. The governor limits are still in place, and the reason is that we don't want to overload the database and impact the other tenants. So I don't think there are plans for that. I mean, the product team hasn't communicated on that yet, so not in the near future. I don't think so.
Okay, no worries. All right, we are just ping-ponging between the two of you, but I have another question about Sandbox Source Tracking. Will the pulled metadata be in the metadata API format or the Salesforce DX format?
Yeah, by default, it will be in the Salesforce DX source format, but we also note that if you need them in metadata API format, for some reason, you can easily convert. There are commands to convert from, source format to the metadata API format and vice versa. So, depending on if you need them, you can, but by default, it will be in the DX format.
Awesome. Okay. We're going to just continue this. Philippe, this next one's for you. Earlier, we mentioned the Postman Collective, and I know you showed it in the slide, but can you remind us where we can get that collection?
Sure. So I know your URL by heart now. So that's postman.com/Salesforce-developers. As easy as that. And from there, you'll find all the installation instructions and everything.
Perfect.
That's postman.com/Salesforce-developers.
I can tell you've definitely answered that question a lot lately.
Yep.
All right, Andrew, I have a question for you. We're going to break this cycle.
Okay.
Are we planning to release any point of service application that can integrate with Commerce Cloud, order management, and omnichannel inventory?
So from a point of sale application, no, but we have partners that are available that you can find out in App Exchange or in the B2C Commerce Link program that do have point of sale applications that can connect in with Commerce Cloud. So we are not directly, but we are trying to enable our partners so that they can provide those tools and utilities. As for if any of them are connected directly to the omnichannel inventory service, not out of the gate, it's a brand new thing, but that is our intent as we continue to move forward, that we enable partners so they can connect all three of the things, B2C commerce, order management, and the omnichannel inventory service to really build out a full omnichannel experience down to their stores.
Okay, that sounds awesome. One follow-up question on omnichannel inventory. Does that come with any default flows that we can use? Would maybe call Apex actions to call to systems like Clover or others?
The omnichannel inventory service itself, I don't believe it does. It's strictly REST API driven. But I believe there are some of those things that are built into the order management application. But that's a question we can get to the order management team and get response to as well.
Brilliant. That sounds great. All right, next question. Can we define custom field sets to use with fields, the Sockle fields function, and can they be used in Apex?
Yeah, at this point, I don't think we support field sets there, and I don't think in the future also there will be anything like that, just because, you have custom metadata. If you need something like that, you can always use like custom metadata and keep your fields there, and then, use that get all method that we have now, so that's one way to do this. So yeah, field sets I don't think it will be supported in the future, but remember that there's a custom metadata which has a better caching mechanism in place, and which is a really good alternative. If you're looking to build something using field sets, you should probably use custom metadata now.
I love that plug for actually, this is the best practice. Because I agree, I think custom metadata for this particular use case is much more extensible. Perfect. Okay, I mean, we've answered almost every question here.
Yeah,
so
and Heather, I got some responses on, will the with sharing will be enabled by default for Aura enabled methods. So I got a response for that. So looks like it's gonna be enforced, by default from Spring. So really where it is going to impact is if you do not specify anything in your Aura enabled Apex, annotated methods, essentially. So if you have an Apex class where you have Aura enabled annotated methods, and if you do not specify with or without sharing, make sure to go and say without sharing or with sharing there. Otherwise it will be enforced as with sharing when Spring will roll. And there is a critical update today, so you can activate that update and test it out if you want to. So make sure that it has all your classes has either inherited sharing, with sharing, or without sharing, depending on what you need for your sharing requirements. Otherwise it will be enforced and it will be with sharing. And the reason why it is with sharing is because we want to we are secure by default, so we want to enforce that security for all of your Lightning Web components.
Least privilege access.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so I want to wrap up with just a quick round of your favorite thoughts, or one thing from your presentation today or from these questions that you want the audience to take away. So Andrew, let's start with you.
I think the biggest thing to take away is really to get out there and look at developer.com, commercecloud.com, and what is there and with the APIs. We love the feedback. There's a full community there to ask questions of, and many of our product managers and some of our engineering leads are in there and answering questions. So we'd love to hear feedback.
Perfect. Mo, what's your one takeaway?
Yeah, for me, one takeaway is the developer experience with Sandbox Source Tracking. As I said, that's my favorite feature because now I can use my sandboxes, to really build the same way I do with Scratch arcs. So yeah, really, developer experience with Sandbox Source Tracking feature and also with, our dependent unlock packages. I think those two are really awesome features. They are GA, so there will be some support for it as well. So really excited about them.
Perfect. And Philippe.
So yeah, regarding product features, I agree with Mo. These are the two things to watch for developers. And then for things that are not tied directly to product, I'm looking forward to seeing the transition from Workbench, seeing how people will start to use Postman, how they will adopt it. There's going to be some work on Trailhead around this topic, so stay tuned. Maybe you'll see a badge with Postman coming up in near future.
Yeah, and maybe even next week, 2 new videos on our YouTube channel about it.
Maybe someone done something.
All right, so I've got just one more thing I want to share with everyone. So please, if you enjoyed this content, you want more content about the release, you want to dive in deeper to all of the features that we've just talked about, please go to sforce.co/learn-more, and you'll get access to 5 amazing blog posts that were all published over the last week that deep dive into specific features for developers with some example code. And if you go to that link, it'll actually take you to a trail mix. And if you complete that trail mix between now and March 31st, you'll be entered to win a certification voucher. So definitely recommend you check that out. You dive in deeper to all of this amazing content and learn even more with Salesforce developers. So with that, I'd like to say thank you all so much for joining us today. We've had an absolute blast answering all of your questions, and we're going to stay answering all of them on Twitter and the Trailblazer community, so keep them coming in even after we've ended. We'll make sure we get you some answers. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.